Hey guys, welcome to Code Decode. In this video, we are going to cover some lead level Java interview questions, scenario based. Now, these are few questions which are for sure will be asked with the lead level candidate. Reason being, these covers the performance improvements. These cover how did you make sure that your application is optimized. How did you improve your API response? How did you reduce the database load? How did you handle the traffic spikes during the sales? And those things. So these are few questions that is for sure will be asked with the lead level experience. Now, most of us might not have experience for reducing the API times or improving the load factors and those things. So if you're appearing for those interviews, those level of interviews, then you can attach these experiences that this is what you have done, and because of this for sure your performance has improved, because what I'm going to cover are the performance improvements. And if you can see here, these are the numbers that nowadays most of the best resumes of the enterprise are attaching. These are basically the numbers that I have improved the performance from this to this. I have increased the revenue from this to this. So if you want, you can attach these to your resumes also. That will give a very good hike and chances for your resume to be shortlisted. Also, starting from this video, we are making sure that each and every comment we are going to regulate. So if you have questions that you have faced in an interview, we encourage you to please attach those questions with the year of experience in the comments itself. And we will make sure that each and every comment will be seen will be answered in the upcoming videos. None of the questions in the comment section will be left in our upcoming videos. Also, please give the years of experience so that we can juggle them according to the years of experience also. So now let's get started with the lead level interview questions. The very first question that is very common nowadays is, how did you optimize the performance of your Java Spring Boot application? Now we know that we work with cloud. We know that we work with databases. We work with microservices and all those things. So answer accordingly where we cover all those situations. So first of all, give the scenario. So as per my scenario, in one of my recent projects, we were working on a high traffic e-commerce platform. And during the peak sales event, for example, the Black Friday, since I was in an European project, so there were peak sales season during either Christmas or the Black Friday sales. So during the peak sales event, the application experienced the latency issue because many people were trying to purchase things around. So with the response time exceeding the acceptable SLA, the system heavily relied on the database interactions, and our APIs were struggling to keep up with the incoming volumes of request. So this was the problem as the lead I faced. So my role was to analyze, optimize the performance of the application and ensure that I could handle the spike in the traffic efficiently without compromising the user experience. This is just a use case. Your use case might be different, but you can use these optimizations in your use case and implement them. Now the first approach was database optimizations. Here we have already told that our system relied heavily on database interactions. So what we have to do is we have to do the fine tuning of SQL queries. The first way is to add proper indexes for frequently used queries and their columns. So here we can create on the product ID on the product orders table with the product ID as the column. So that's how we have added the index on the table on this particular column. Now the second thing that very important we did in the application was find all the places where we have select all, and we have removed that and replaced it with the specific required columns only. This increases your querying time a lot. The third very important but a complex thing is that we rewritten our joins and subqueries for efficiency. For example, this was a subquery that can be easily optimized using the inner join like this. Why is it better? Because joins are generally faster because they process rows in parallel and can leverage the indexes better than subqueries. The fourth thing is we introduced caching using Redis or any of your custom implementation of caching, that is okay. One example is Redis for frequently accessed data like product catalog and user preferences to reduce the load on the database. And these all things actually increase the database querying time, and our SLA was now much better. The second thing, important thing apart from database that you can do is code level optimizations. In the code level, you can always use string builders if you know that your objects or string objects are going to be frequently manipulated. If you use string, then it has to be created every time. Your memory will be lost, your time will be lost. So to reduce the object creations by reusing the existing object, try using the string builder instead of string. At the end, you can convert them into string and return them so that it is still immutable. The second in the code optimization thing that we have done is we had a sequential processing like this. For all the integers from 1 to 10,000, add these numbers. This is a sequential processing. With this, even if you do it, convert this traditional loop into streams, then also it will not be in the parallel way. How you could have done that? Numbers.stream.math square root and collect to list. So some of the operations. This is not the same operation as this for sure, but some operation like this. But the better way to optimize this is using parallel streams. And the simple way to do is just to replace the string with parallel stream. So first thing the code optimization we did was to replace all the object creations from immutable to mutable ones. Secondly, to convert wherever possible, convert the stream operations to parallel streams if possible. It also comes with overhead. So look out if it is really good. Now minimize the usage of synchronized block by leveraging the concurrent hash map and concurrent stuff rather than the synchronized stuff, because synchronizes takes the lock on the whole data structure, but the concurrent counterpart will just log the segment of it. So you always try to use concurrent or where thread safety is really important. If it is not important, just go with the random, like for example, array list, hash map, and so on. Also, we introduced asynchronous processing using computable future. This is not always the case. This is a typical case where computable future is compatible with your application. For example, the non-critical task like send confirmation, logging of order processing can be done simultaneously. So that can be a non-blocking scenario and can be done with the computable future. That can also be done with the Kafka. If you cannot use the computable future, you can always use the asynchronous communication. Send it to your Kafka topics and forget about it. It will be done later on. But like save order to database and those things has to be done synchronously. Otherwise, you will lose the track of the order. So in that case, I have made sure that I have done synchronously all the processing of all this. Also, you can batch multiple small requests into single API. If in case during the sales time you have onboarded with thousands of requests simultaneously, but for the same kind of request, then you can list all those IDs together, find it all by either in the cache or in the repository, and return the results to multiple users simultaneously. That can also be done. Also, we could have used the gzip compression for API responses. This is very tricky. This is very rarely used. I will not suggest you to do this. But in case you want to reduce the payload size, that is response to your user, you can compress the response and you can tell which type you want to compress. And you can also avoid the compressing of very small responses to save the compression implementation to those small payloads. So unless your payload size is not more than 1024, do not compress. If it is more than 1024, please compress. And if application.json is returning back, compress it. This is used in very rare scenarios. Because in the UI, again, you have to decompress it. Apart from these code optimizations and database optimizations, we have also done the scaling of infrastructure because we were facing issues during the sales time. So there you have to analyze the traffic, implement the load balancer, implement the CDN, which is just the static resources can be deployed directly at the very nearby to the end user so that the user doesn't have to wait for your network latency issues, which can come if the resource is very far in from the consumer or customer. We can also have done profilings of application with Visual VM and YorkIt. This is typically the ways to identify bottlenecks in your code where our code is lacking. If you want to have a very separate video on these two things, just let me know in the comment section. I'll create another video where I can write some code where there are some bugs or code smells, and then this will figure out where the code smells are and will give the bottlenecks in the code. This is very important part. After doing all those things, what all we have done? We have done the code refactoring, we have done the database optimization, we have done the scaling, we have done the profiling. After all these things, what is the result? The result was that our API response improved from 1.5 seconds to 300 milliseconds. That was sub-second response. The database load was reduced significantly due to caching and optimized queries that we have done. Caching was done using Redis. Optimizations was done where we have removed all the select star and all those things. The system handled successfully the traffic spikes during the peak sales events even without the downtime, improving the user satisfaction. And because the user satisfaction was increased, this sales rather than the previous year, we increased the revenue by 15%, which is a beautiful improvement. So summary, just to give an answer to such interview questions, you have to make sure that you cover these points. That you have optimized an application. It requires a combination of analyzing the bottlenecks, refactoring the code, improve the database interaction, scaled the infrastructure, monitor and tested crucial things, and make sure that the performance improvements are sustained into the system. So these are just the important parts that you have to cover. If that is clear, be it any of your use case, these will always work. Now going towards the second scenario, that you were having a legacy Java code. Now you have to scale it and also convert it to microservice architecture. But what challenges you have faced during doing that? What steps you have taken to ensure that system could scale without breaking the existing functionality? Now this is a very important point, right? Many times we convert monolithic to microservice architecture, but at the end when everything is done, we can see that multiple flows, critical business functional flows are breaking. So how did you make sure that your stakeholders are not angry upon you, that their functional requirements are not broken? So in this question, you have to cover how did you convert from monolith to microservice. You also have to cover how did you make sure that your system is scalable, and how did you counter your challenges that you face, and how did you make sure that your stakeholders are not angry, their business functionality is not broken. So in the previous project, I worked on a financial reporting application that produces the large volume of transactions daily. Now this is again a use case. Your use case can be completely different, but you can integrate these tasks into your use case also. This is just one of an example. The legacy system used monolithic architecture, which was tightly coupled the components. So in the financial reporting system, you can have multiple components which are tightly coupled. Now it becomes the bottleneck as the large volume data grow in picture. And scalability was also limited, and adding new feature actually breaked many of the existing functionality. So having the monolith was a problem. Now my task was to refactor the system to improve the scalability while ensure to continue to meet the existing requirements without disruptions. So what did you do? Here we did the start of the analysis. We have the documentations also with us about the old code. We have also the old code to identify the critical workflows. The very first thing is analyze your existing monolith application. Secondly, engage with your stakeholders, because at this point of time, the very important part is to make sure that your client or the consumer, the end consumer, is very much confident that you will be able to do it. So engage with your consumers and find out what all are their critical features that should not be disrupted at any point of time. Then you have to identify the bottleneck, that is where the tight coupled components are there, and then segregate them into independent tasks. And this is where the microservices architecture can come into picture. So you can use easily the Spring Boot and microservice architecture to convert those tightly coupled components into independent services. Also, we used to have a problem with the relational databases, because a single relational database with multiple components becomes a bottleneck. Then we have to convert them into the one microservice, one database architecture, and implement the data sharing to distribute across multiple instances. This makes sure that you are scaling also. So this is where you answer the scaling problem, that since we were having one single database, and one single database were having large number of read queries, and all the data was very high volume data was in one single database, we were facing issues. First thing is to shred it up. All the database is shredded. So multiple instances will be able to answer your queries with multiple instances. Also, your data will not be at one place. It will be shredded with multiple. So it can be done horizontally or it can be done vertically. The third very important part is, since we were reporting to, we get many of the read queries. So we introduce a read replica for reporting the heavy queries, in reducing the load on the primary database. So if you have multiple read replicas, your one query might go to 10 number of instances. Whoever is free will return to you. They don't have to wait for reading from one of the particular single primary database. As discussed, you can introduce the microservice architecture and also use Apache Kafka or ActiveMQ, RabbitMQ, anything for asynchronous communication between services to ensure the loose coupling. Also, when I have done so much, I have understood what was the code. I've understood what was the critical business flows. I've also understood that we have to make these components as independent. We have also made sure that database is scalable. We have introduced microservices. The problem comes is your backward compatibility. All your clients will not directly come and change their URLs to your new microservice architecture. So in place, you have to make an API gateway for better routing so that your clients and consumers do not know that internally you have changed something. So that is why you have to introduce for sure the API gateway to make sure that your backward compatibility is maintained. They don't have to change as their end. They will give you the same request. You have to make sure that if you are good and comfortable with your microservice architecture, route to your microservice architecture, else go along with your monolithic one until unless you're not very confident. Now, we have to also make sure to use JMeters and Gatling. If you want to video in JMeter testing, this is a very important tool. We use it almost in every of the API scenarios to handle and see how, if concurrent requests are coming, how our application is behaving. That is basically the load testing done on the system. So how performance testing is done using JMeter can be handled easily during the use of JMeter and Gatling. Also, you can use caching to increase the performance of the application and monitor the application using Prometheus Grafana. Now, the second point was what challenges you face during the scaling. So we did the scaling using database scaling using sharding and partitioning and all those things. We did the application scaling using multiple instances of them. So what challenges did you face? First of all was the tight deadlines, because the balancing the need of scalability with the time constraint was challenging. So what we did was we prioritized the most critical scalability bottleneck first and deferred the less critical changes for later on. So that is why we have engaged with the stakeholders initially, and we made sure that their business functionalities are at first priority is answered and give the solution to. The second problem that we faced was complex dependency. The tight coupling nature of legacy code led to unexpected side effect, because of which we were facing issues with the complex dependency between different components. So what did we do? We created a comprehensive unit. We segregated them, but we made sure to have the integration test in place. So remember, this is a very important part. This is always neglected. If you are converting from from monolith to microservice, your system testing is very important, because system testing actually lies the test of the complete end-to-end system. From one microservice to nth microservice, everything should be covered with your integration test. And the last problem was stakeholders were very much buzzing around because they were very sure that something will disrupt. So what we did was we did regular demo at the end of the sprint, and we maintained a transparency about the results and progress so that they are very much confident that I can do it. Now, the results. This is again very important. You can add this in your resume also. This will actually increase the chance of your resume shortlisting really nice. So after refactoring the monolith architecture to the microservices scaled system, we handled 3x amount of transaction volume without any performance degradation, which is a very good handling. The response time was improved by 40% due to database optimization and caching. Also, remember, you can have the for sure cross questions that, oh wow, you increase the response time by 40%. What did you do to increase it? That is the important question. And you should know the answer to it. So if you put numbers, your numbers will be seen. But you have to make sure that you counter attack it with the proper reasons and scenarios, how you actually did it. If you just say, I did it by 40% just by removing all select star queries with select column, that will not be a justified solution. You have to maintain a standard answer to this particular question with Redis, with sharding, with partitioning and all those things. If you want a detailed video on that, also just let me know in the comment section along with your questions and years of experience. I'll answer each and every of them for sure. The modular architecture made it easier for new features to add the new features to reduce the development time for the new components by 30%. So with having different teams working with different microservices components, I made sure that a specific team is working on specific component and they have no whole and soul. They don't have to know everything about the system, which increases the development effect. Now, the stakeholders were satisfied with a smooth transition and uninterrupted operations. This happened because of API gateway implementation. Because until unless we have done all A/B testing, all kinds of testing. Now, what is A/B testing? What is these testing? Everything I've covered in the previous video. Let me know. I'll give a link to that. We have done the user testing, we have done the A/B testing, we have done the functional testing, we have done all such kinds of testing. And hence, only if we were satisfied, then only our stakeholders were redirected using API gateway to our new application. Till then, they were using the monolithic one. So this is how I have made sure that I have refactored it awesome, nicely. And the key takeaways, how did you refactor your legacies? For the scalability, it requires a balance between careful planning, incremental changes, robust testing, make sure that the existing functionality remains unaffected, and communication with stakeholders, that is proper sprint end demos are very important to gain their trust and ensure the successful transaction. Because after every 14 days, if you give the demo, they can give you early feedbacks that your system is breaking at this point of time, and they can do the in-house testing for your small incremental developments. Hope that answers the question that how did you make sure about your scalability, your refactoring of monolith to microservice architecture. This is a very important question nowadays in most of the interviews. The third very important question, that you have a team under you. How did you make sure that your your Java code best practices are maintained? Can you please share an example where you have successfully implemented and enforced the best practices for your Java development in your team? Now, we do have few adherences to coding best practices. First of all, you establish a clear coding standard that you have to use, or either Oracle Java coding conventions or these. Based on these, you can attach them in your IDE also. Also ensures that the topics covers the naming conventions, formatting, best practices, and all those things. Basic concepts you have to make sure that they follow. The second very important thing that we have to do is during the pipeline, when the pipeline is there, the Jenkins pipeline or those things, where the building is there for your, basically the CI part is there, you have to make sure that the code quality is checked before they push the code to master branch. That we have done using Checkstyle, PMD, and SonarQube into the CI/CD pipeline to identify any violations done by the developers. Also, the formatting has to be common across all the developers. So you have to make sure that you have configured all of their ID with a consistent formatting. Like, for example, IntelliJ IDEA comes with their consistent formatting rules to enforce their usage. So that one class doesn't have one of the formatting, other class doesn't have the different kind of formatting. Also, make sure that the code reviews are done properly. Make sure that unless you do not have 2 peer reviews, code will not be merged. Also, make sure that the peer code reviews are also done. Also, perform the test culture, enforce the unit testing and system testing is done properly using JUnits, ViaMocks, Mockitos. System testing can be done using Cucumber. All those things should be there. Also, make sure that you have the constant training and knowledge sessions. Now, what best thing that we have done is, with these all things, we have made sure that our team ensures the best coding practices. Now, they would ask you that this is so much theoretical. Give me an example where you faced a challenge and how did you fix it? So you can say that in my previous project, my team faced challenges with inconsistent coding style. The technical depth were due to rushed development because the sprint was coming to an end. For the quick development, they just did what all they could in the bad coding way with all the code smells and those things, which lead to bugged and reduced maintainability of the code base. So as a tech lead, I needed to introduce and enforce some coding best practices to improve the code quality and maintainability. This is very important. Just coding in a haphazard way will not help you in the long run, because after 10 years, you will not be there in the system, but third person coming to the system will not be able to understand your code. So if coding is important, maintaining that code quality is also important. So what was the action plan? First of all, we established the coding standard. We integrated the proper IDE with the proper common constant coding templates. We made sure to introduce the PMD check styles in SonarQube and removed all the code smells like duplicate code, overlay complex methods, and all those things. Also, we have refactored for the best practices. You're not using the factor design patterns for your multiple similar kind of cases. Then we have to make sure that we use the proper design patterns. Also, we favored streams and optionals for Java 8 for cleaner and functional coding style. Because going forward, if we have to integrate with the reactive programming for the IO calls, then the streams and Java 8 code will be easily mendable with those particular scenarios. Also, we established the code review process. We built the test culture with test development with minimum 75% code coverage. And we did the continuous learning using KT and tech talk sessions. With all those things, what have you done? We have improved the code quality. The average sonar smell count dropped by 60% within 3 months. Also, we have the consistent code base. Even if you click any of the class, every class will have the same kind of formatting and structures. Also, we have maintained the maintainability. We refactored the module because we need to reduce the delivery time. And hence, we did reduce the delivery time by 25%. This is too much theoretical. But as a team lead, you have to make sure that you have all these things in place. This will not just make sure that you're a good team lead, but you're also able to maintain the code compatibility. Even after you go, if some other team lead or some other developer comes, he will not face issues because you did not moderated all those things. Now we have many more questions like if you have written a code, if you run it, it works, but it doesn't work. But if you try to debug and find the issue, it didn't work. Now we have many more questions like you have an issue coming in the performance or the prod environment. So to reproduce that, when you try to run that in your local, the issue is reproduced. Now when you try to debug that issue, the issue is not reproducible. This is a very common question. And you should know that why the code is running properly during the debug, but is not running when the application is run end-to-end. So there are multiple reasons because of thread synchronization, JIT compiler behavior, compiler optimizations, loop rolling, and many more things I have to cover. If you want me to have all those things again for the lead level questions, just let me know in the comment section. I'll create more video for that. Also, starting from this particular video, we are going to moderate each and every comment for the interview questions that you will be pasting along with the years of experience. And we will make sure that each and every question that you post here will be answered in the upcoming video. So just add your questions with the interview level and we will add all those questions in our upcoming videos. Thank you so much. Waiting to see you in the comment section. Thank you.